Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Boruto episode 204 review. Guys, do I even need to say it, man? This episode right here was impeccable. For me, this episode definitely lived up to the hype. It definitely lived up to the anticipation, and I was super happy with the product. The animation was there. It wasn't necessarily the best animation that we've ever seen before, but that combined with the actual contents of the episode just made it that much insane. If I were to give this episode a rank, I would have it directly behind episode 65 at number 2, and that's exactly where I want it to be. Now, some of you guys might say that the Kawaki versus Gaara fight is a little bit better. I'm not necessarily going to argue with you guys, but I think undisputably this episode right here is definitely top 3 of the Boruto anime. Now, the fight itself was absolutely amazing. Jigen pretty much showed everybody that he is absolutely no joke. Anime only's out there. I know this is going to be a very difficult time for you guys. A lot of you guys are hardcore Naruto fans. A lot of you guys are hardcore Sasuke fans. Us manga readers, we have been living with the knowledge that Jigen is that guy for a very long time. So us seeing Naruto and Sasuke get their heads pounded into the pavement wasn't necessarily that big of a deal. But for you guys, I know it's going to be an absolute shock. But on the bright side for Naruto and Sasuke, I think it was made very clear that Jigen in this episode, throughout all of his fights, was pushed to his absolute limit. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I do want to talk about the fight. Jigen in this episode was absolutely special. I think one of the special things about Jigen is that he's like an Otsutsuki shinobi hybrid. He has the power of an Otsutsuki member, but he also has the work ethic of an actual shinobi. He's pretty much been on Earth for a very long time and picked up a lot of the nuances of actual shinobi and pretty much incorporated that into his actual abilities. One of the best things that I did see about Jigen in this episode is that he actually knew about shinobis. Like, he was pretty much fawning over the ability that Sasuke was doing, mainly because to us, I mean, obviously it's normal mainly because Sasuke was doing it for so much times, but to regular people on Earth and even to Jigen, it seems like these are legendary abilities. The Susanoo, the Amaterasu, and Jigen was just fawning over it. Even though he was pretty much destroying all of them, it was still a very cool sight for Jigen to actually be impressed by some of the legendary abilities that Sasuke had. But on the flip side, because Jigen has that shinobi element to him, he fights in the way of strategy. He's not like a regular Otsutsuki member, like for example a Momoshiki that's just going to overwhelm you with taijutsu, strength, and speed. Obviously Jigen can do that as well, but also Jigen was thinking critically all throughout this fight. He knew where and when to use the rod. He planned for all the hack jutsus that Naruto and Sasuke had, and unlike a character like Momoshiki, he didn't get hit by the same move continuously over and over and over, like how Sasuke kept switching places with things using his rinnegan ability versus Momoshiki. And another thing about it was that Jigen was a very good matchup for Naruto and Sasuke. You guys seen it when Naruto and Sasuke went respectively into the Nine Tails and the Susanoo form. Jigen was very small. He couldn't necessarily match them, but Jigen, while in battle, already shrinks himself, so him having a drastic size disadvantage didn't necessarily phase him at all. And speaking of that scene, we have to bring up the moment where Jigen one-shotted Sasuke out of the Susanoo. Bro, we are talking about the most legendary jutsu that we have ever seen in regards to defense in the Naruto series, but to Jigen, it was softer than Charmin. And you can't let Naruto and the Nine Tails off the hook either, because Jigen one-shot Naruto out of that as well. We've literally never seen anybody treat Naruto and Sasuke like that. Now, another interesting aspect of this fight is the fact that Jigen in this battle pretty much gave us a lot of ideas and gave us a lot of information about potentially the second stage of the Karma Seal. We've seen Kawaki utilize this before when Jigen entered Naruto's house. It's pretty much the stage with the horn on his head. Kawaki had the horn on his head, and we can pretty much assume that Boruto has the horn on his head as well. We'll probably get to see that very soon. Manga readers, calm down. I think this right here pretty much tells us that when Boruto and Kawaki potentially enter this form, it's going to be on another level, because Jigen in this episode with his Karma Seal with no horn went from like a Momoshiki, a final form Momoshiki level, to completely something different, to literally one-shotting Sasuke out of a perfect Susanoo. But Naruto and Sasuke in this episode, they were great as well. I know it's going to be a popular theme to pretty much say that they were nerfed. I personally believe that Naruto and Sasuke did everything that they could. At this particular point, we just have to give Jigen his flowers. During the Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki fight, in that episode, the temperature was that Naruto was a little bit stronger than Sasuke. In this episode, I really don't know. I think it was much more even, and I honestly think it shifted a little bit more towards Sasuke's favor, to where Sasuke seemed like he was the stronger person against a character like Jigen. And I really do believe that styles make fight. With Momoshiki's approach, he was straightforward, which gave Naruto the ability to pretty much shine. But with this episode, as I said, Jigen is not only going to overwhelm you with taijutsu. Even though he can, Jigen still brings a different level of mystique in regards to his overall abilities, and Sasuke dissected it damn near 5 minutes into the battle. I'm like, god damn, Sasuke. And even Jigen said it. Jigen Jigen said Sasuke is going to be the person that he has to kill first, pretty much thinking that Sasuke is going to be the one that's most threatening to his overall plan and overall scheme. I'm going to have to give the overall edge in regards to actual contribution in this episode to Sasuke. I definitely think that he edged it out. One of the things that we did see in this episode, Sasuke and Naruto teamwork, they were on full display. Even though Jigen did a very good job of countering, you still kind of see why this team is so formidable. For example, when Sasuke got knocked out of the susanoo, remind you guys, this has never happened to Sasuke ever before. So this right here is a completely new situation, a completely new scenario that they've never really planned for. Jigen makes a beeline to Sasuke, tries to attack Sasuke. Sasuke switches places with Jigen, and Naruto in the blink of an eye was ready to set up an attack against Jigen after all that happened. Remind you guys, I'm pretty sure they never planned for something like this, but Naruto knew exactly what to do. Just so happened that Jigen in this particular situation was a wrong matchup for Naruto. I personally think even in that particular situation, Jigen probably shrunk himself even more to make the chance of Naruto connecting with the shot that much slimmer. Another one of their combinations that was on full display and that actually almost caught Jigen was when Naruto got hit out of the Nine Tails. Remind you guys, another situation where they did not plan for it, man, because they never really thought that a person can possibly one-shot Naruto out of the Kyubi, but here we are. But regardless, Naruto gets hit out of the Nine Tails. Sasuke then screams one word, just Naruto. Naruto knew exactly what to do. He loads up the Rasengan, knowing that of course he's not going to be able to hit Jigen with the Rasengan, understand that Jigen is probably going to try to absorb it, and then immediately Sasuke switches places with Naruto, pretty much showing the cohesion and the teamwork that they have. And of course this right here almost connected, but Jigen had something else up his sleeve. Now at the end of the battle, here's where it's going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say some indisputable facts first. Jigen's body started to break down, and we kind of got the duality between the actual person Jigen and his body, and also the person actually controlling Jigen. Now at this particular point, anime wise, we don't necessarily know exactly who's controlling Jigen. I think at this particular time when we were reading the Boruto manga, the heavily popular theory at this particular time was that Ishiki Ozuki was actually the person controlling Jigen, possibly through the karma seal. But in a situation like this, whoever that was controlling Jigen's body clearly could not feel pain, and in my opinion, I think that right there was a very huge advantage. While Naruto and Sasuke are probably dealing with the most pain that they've ever sustained in a very long time, also understanding that they're pretty much running extremely low on chakra, this person that's controlling Jigen's body is pretty much driving a car. Like if I'm driving a car and I don't notice my check engine light on, I'm probably not going to know something's wrong with my car. And the only reason why the person controlling Jigen understood that there was something wrong was the black stone on his abdomen cracking, and also Jigen actually physically crying. Like that was crazy. But here's where I'm going to make that hot take. I personally believe if Naruto and Sasuke in this episode shifted all their chips to the middle of the table and tried to actually fight Jigen to the death, I think they would have won. I personally believe that Jigen was breaking down to the point where his body literally physically couldn't really sustain that much more battle, and because of that, even though the person controlling Jigen didn't necessarily know, he would have potentially perished. And we've seen that after Jigen tried to close down Naruto in that other dimension, I'll talk about that a little bit later, the black stone on his abdomen was cracking even further. So I personally believe that Sasuke and Naruto pushed Jigen that much further, he would have probably crumbled under the pressure. It's just that Sasuke understood that he needs to preserve some chakra to get out of that dimension, and Naruto also was trying to think of a tactical getaway plan. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. But it comes to the end scene where Jigen actually closes Naruto off in this other dimension. Now, during these times, I always try to put myself in the position of where I was when I was reading this for the first time in the Boruto manga. I think this right here clearly definitely has the feeling of what we seen in the first episode. If you guys do recall, Kawaki pretty much told Boruto that I'm going to send you to where I sent the 7th Hokage. I think this right here could have potentially been what he was talking about, sending Boruto to another dimension, potentially where Naruto was, a dimension that's pretty much only exclusive to Jigen or potentially Kawaki in the future, where when it's smaller, they control who exits and who enters. I think this right here could definitely have some long-term implications. But one of the things that I really thought that was going to happen when I was reading this in the Boruto manga was that when Sasuke uses time-space ninjutsu, I thought that Jigen was going to also enter that time-space ninjutsu, and Jigen was going to also end up in the Hidden Leaf Village. And I'm not gonna lie, if Jigen, the weakened Jigen, landed in the Hidden Leaf Village with Sasuke and Sakura was standing right there, Sakura would have unloaded on this man Jigen. And not only that, I'm pretty sure shinobis would have been jumping off the rooftops, man, because they were already on alert because Naruto was taken from his house. It would have just been a bunch of Timberland boots, ACGs, all white G Phazos, Yeezys, Crocs, leaf-covered chancletas, basically stomping Jigen's chin to the pavement. Thank God that didn't happen for Jigen. But I think this episode right here was absolutely amazing. I really love that. I think it lived up to the hype. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But it's being your boy Baara B, and here we out.
It's a knife.